Hey guys, how's it going? This is a different style of video than I typically do, but this is how I'm able to get a video out much faster than I typically would. I need to get this out as soon as possible. Like, I've been looking forward to this particular laptop since they announced it at CES this year. Last year, this was definitely one of my favorite laptops. My only issue that I had with it, and also at 15 inches, the way that this thing was designed, that bottom chin looked really, really bad. They fixed both of those this year. So we have a muck switch, and we have a new hinge mechanism, and it's also 16 by 10, so it's a taller display. So there's from your regular laptop viewing point of view, you're not even going to see any bezels, which is awesome. And with the new hinge, not only does it close and open, but when you open it, it actually starts to slide backwards. By it sliding back towards the screen, it helps create more of a bezel-less feel, which is awesome. Alright, so let's just jump into some of the cool stuff that I remember from using last year's version. So you can just have like a website up here or any application, and if you want to throw it to the bottom, not only is this just like a typical second display, but there's actually some ASUS software built in to where you just throw it to this little window here, and it automatically goes to the bottom and goes to full screen. And by that nature, you can also do the same thing and it automatically takes it up. Kind of makes it a little bit easier. There's different window sizes that you can use, so you could have 3 small apps on the top with 2, or just you can split them in half, and it automatically just kind of throws them to that perspective. So for multitasking, this is a great thing. And I'll just throw this back on top, and to the right, it's a little section, and when you just drag it over to here, okay, so I gotta change the resolution for that. So speaking of which, that's one thing I'm just gonna jump into right now. Last year's model either shipped with a 4K top panel and a 4K bottom panel, or a 1080p top panel or a 1080p bottom panel. This year, you're getting 1600p or the taller 1440p at the top, but the bottom is 4K. So that's why it looks so weird here. So it kind of sucks. And since this came up, I'm just gonna kind of show you some of the issues that I've been having with that. So just like if you wanted to drag it down here, sometimes it's a little bit harder. You see, it's kind of getting stuck here, and like even if I'm not doing anything, my cursor is literally stuck here because of the way that Windows is recognizing the second screen. It's assuming because of the resolution difference that the screen is actually larger, but obviously they're the same size. So the best workaround to that is unfortunately having to lower the resolution. So now Windows is recognizing it as the same size display. So now I'm pretty sure if I use this full screen mode, see, so what that ends up doing is it ends up just spanning across. Okay, I'm sorry. That's just telling me that you can reconfigure the taskbar in Windows. So for something like this, maybe you might want to automatically hide. And these aren't typically the style of videos I make, so you just bear with me for this one. So anyway, okay, so now we're ready. So you could take this, and it ends up just spanning across. And again, it's just telling me that you can change it. So the cool thing about this is now you can just scroll with the bottom screen here. And on the screen pad itself, there's a series of different settings. And I remember last year, I kind of had to configure this to get it to work the way I wanted it to. So there's a brightness control on the top, and these side buttons here, you can actually configure them to be what you want them to be. A lot of this is just the stock, so I'm not sure what these are yet. Oh, I think this is just oh right, that's what this is. So any window that you have open, and this is ASUS's software that's built into the Duo, which is nice. They actually have a lot of features to make the second screen very useful. Anything that's on the top screen, you press this button, and it brings it down to the bottom. And then vice versa. If it's at the bottom, you can press this, and it'll bring it back up. So since I've done that, once I close this, Oh no, you got to go back in the app navigator. I haven't used this laptop since last year. See, so now the app that I pre-selected, that I chose, is now down here, and I could have added stuff up here. This up and down arrow here, which I just added tonight, all that does is it switches the apps that are in the top to the bottom. So let me kind of create a bit of an example here. So the Xbox app is at the top, Samsung.com is at the bottom. If I press the button, it's going to switch it. So Samsung at the top, Xbox app at the bottom. So that's what that does. And you can, there's so many different stuff you can customize, and you can spend a good amount of time messing around with the settings in this particular ScreenPad Plus app. And one thing that they also added this year is you can actually turn this into a gigantic touchpad. I won't say that it's perfect. It works well, but it's still being recognized that there's a second screen underneath. So if you have content on the second screen, you see, you could actually see my mouse cursor here. So, I mean, I think Asus is doing the best that they can, given the limitations of Windows. But honestly, just having the second screen down here is really helpful. And that might be another question. Is this a gimmick? Is this really necessary? I use this. Whenever I was using the Duo last year, I definitely utilized the ScreenPad Plus. So the way Mini LED works is each light source dims individually, and that's kind of what gives you perfect blacks when perfect blacks are necessary. It's different from OLEDs because OLED, each individual pixel can emit its own light or turn off completely. So OLED does have its share of issues that IPS panels don't have. So the whole point of Mini LED is to try to alleviate some of that stuff. So there has been some issues with this particular panel, and I bet it's going to be across the board. And as of right now, I'm not saying these issues are bad enough. So I'm going to go through some of them, and some of them might come across as scary to the point where you might not be even want to be considering this laptop anymore. Just for me using this all day, I can live with it. So first I want to talk about is the dirty screen effect. Dirty screen test. And honestly, and this is kind of my process when I'm going through a lot of reviews for general laptops that I typically do. So I like using this particular YouTube video to just kind of visually, and I don't know, okay, so, and now we're also getting a bit of a speaker test. So I don't know how much of this will come through in the video. If it doesn't, then I'll be doing all the dedicated videos on this. Like I said, this is just the first look. This is just to get something out there because there's not much coverage on it. So the reason why the dirty effect happens on Mini LEDs, it's kind of difficult of a task to source all of these tiny Mini LED lights and to have them all be uniform in terms of being the same color. Some of their white balances might be a little bit off, etc. So that's one reason why Mini LED was delayed for so many years. So because of that, you're able to kind of see that on grayish or white backgrounds, and especially in this like fake hockey scene, as the hockey player is moving around, if your eyes are focused on the hockey player, it looks like the screen is dirty. If you have like a Samsung QLED panel, or actually most IPS panels, or even VA panels on your TV, there's a good chance that you might be having some dirty screen effect and you haven't even noticed it. And I would say that this is noticeable, but it's definitely visible. I can see just from looking at the viewfinder with the brightness at the lowest setting, you could kind of see what I'm talking about. And this particular video is meant to highlight the dirty screen effect. And you may be wondering, is this enough of a detractor? To me, anybody who knows me, I'm really picky about displays. To me, it's not. The benefits of the Mini LED panel definitely outweigh this dirty screen effect. And I threw on some games and I just started playing a little bit, and oh man, the way things pop on this Mini LED panel is like amazing. There is nothing else like it. And because this actually gets to 1000 nit peak brightness, or so it's advertised, the HDR effect does look better than the OLED panel I've had in the Aero 16. I ran the benchmark for Forza Horizon. Usually racing games are a really good way to test the dirty screen effect. And it was in a way kind of mind blowing how bright those highlights get. So I mean, yeah, it's been a great experience. But this is just me after using it for a few hours. And I also did order this laptop here. This is the MSI GE 67, sorry, and this one actually has a QHD 240 hertz OLED panel. So I'm really excited to check that one out when it comes in. Hopefully I don't run out of money before then, and if you guys want to help me out with that, please subscribe to my channel. Okay, so next I want to talk about blooming. On minimum brightness, I can definitely notice it. I can definitely see the panel brightening and dimming different zones in the display. I mean, I've used backlit panels as my monitors in the past, so my eyes are already used to it, and I've moved on to the QD OLED monitor, which has been amazing. I'm going to do a review on that soon. But one thing I did notice though, the brighter the screen is, the less you're able to see the blooming. So what am I at here? I'm a bit, I would say from like 50%-ish. Yeah, I can barely see it at 50%. At 50% or over, I don't think the blooming is very noticeable. Is if the mini LED panel bothers you and you just want a traditional panel, in Armory Crate they did include a little button right here that changes it from multi-zone backlight control or single zone. So at one zone you could actually see the display changes and all of the blooming goes away. It looks like a traditional panel, and just subjectively, this panel alone looks like the contrast is good, the color output is good. The mini LED does help, and it does improve contrast, and it improves pop. But if the blooming does bother you, then you can take it off. And right now, I'm not seeing any blooming. It doesn't fix dirty screen though. The dirty screen effect is what it is. Really quickly on the design, it's similar to last year's model. There's some nice improvements. The bottom display, I should say, slides backwards. Asus had to design a bit of a workaround for that part that would have been exposed, and man, did they do a good job with that. This bottom panel is glass, and there's like so many little, what are they, Easter eggs that are just sprinkled all around. So on the left there's coordinates, and if I remember correctly, that actually will take you directly to Asus's headquarters. Then there's the Republic of Gamers right next to it, for those who dare, to the right. And then if you look really closely, it actually looks like you can see some of the chip design in it. Alright guys, I think I'm going to leave it here at that. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that I'm forgetting to mention. If so, just leave me a comment. I'll respond to you, and I'll make sure I tackle it in the next video. So with that being said, alright guys, thanks. I'll see you guys in the next one.